Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe. So we will today continue with the story of Sri Radharaman Charan Das Dev. So he was called when he was smaller as Rai Charan. So last time we were talking that he went to Ayodhya first. So I will continue from this part where it says that Rai Charan reached Ayodhya. He was on the uptoe of high expectation as he looked for the saint here and there on the bank of Saraju River. Suddenly, he found the saint entering the wood with the wooden bowl in hand. After finishing his ablutions in the holy waters of Saraju River, he saw Rai Charan and said smiling, "Well, are you come, my child? You are welcome. I was waiting for your arrival." Just I want to remind you, last time when we were reading, actually, he was told that if he goes there to Saraju River, he will meet this saintly person who can help him. So when he arrived, this saintly now person, we can see he already knew that he will come. Rai Charan ran to him and fell at his feet. The saint laid his hand on his head, blessed him, took him by the hand, and led him to his hermitage. After Rai Charan had bathed, the saint made him sit in front of him and breathed the mantra into his ear. As the mantra was uttered, Rai Charan quaked vehemently, was shaking strongly. His hair stood on end. Tears flowed from his eyes, and he fell senseless on the ground. On his regaining consciousness, the saint locked him in his arms, and each, overwhelmed with bhava, bathed the other in tears of love. Wow, so beautiful. Rai Charan stayed with the Guru for a few days. The Guru taught him the guiding principles of his new life. One day he said to him, "Look, I have an impulse from within, a bidding of the Lord, so it must be done. You need not stay with me any longer. You must set out on your mission and spread the name of the Lord far and wide in the world." "Excuse me, Gurudev. I thought of clinging to your feet and serving you to the last day of my life. That is not to be, my child. And so you must give up that idea and make up your mind to shoulder the task. God has been pleased to impose upon you. You say you want to serve me, but what is service if not doing one's pleasure? I shall not be better pleased with anything else. If you look upon me as your spiritual friend and guide or navigator, you cannot but choose to obey me. Come, be a good child and do what I say. Thy will be done, my Lord. But the task is great, and I am so small. Empower me to accomplish the mighty task." "Oh, it is done, my child. Fear not and set to work. You are in the hands of God. He will be with you and lead you on." Rai Charan fell weeping at the feet. Just one second. Rai Charan fell weeping at the feet. Rai Charan fell weeping at the feet of the master. He raised him, embraced him heartily, and blessed him as he bade him goodbye. Charan set out. He traveled far and wide till he came to Navadvip. Something in his appearance attracted Jagadananda Das Babaji. If you remember, we were talking a long time ago about this Jagadananda Das Babaji, a really mystical person, who took him to his residence and gave him a solitary room for his undisturbed meditation. Now he lived a life of abstraction, out of touch with the men of the world. He bathed in Ganges 3 times a day, cooked his own food, and ate only once in the afternoon. He spent the whole day in the loud chanting of the name of the Lord. Sometimes he would laugh and sometimes cry, swimming always at pleasure in the sea of love. He was love intoxicated and behaved like one who was gone mad. His host called him Rajan Babu. So from Rai Charan, he became Rajan and was known as such hereafter. Birds of the same feather flock together. At this time, he met another love-intoxicated person, Navadvip Chandradas. Their eyes met, and they felt they were old, familiar friends. They flew into each other's arms and shed tears. They were in ecstasies. They danced together in joy and shouted the name of the Lord. It seemed they were 2 only in form, but 1 in heart. How deep, how perfect the union of their hearts. They became friends forever and would no longer part from each other. 2 other devoted souls, Krishna Govinda and Rasa Mohan, felt attracted by Rajan Babu and joined him. All together decided to go to Puri. They started wearing a chadar and a dhoti, and with karatals in hand, dancing and singing the name of the Lord. Rajan Babu led them. He had his own charming way of leading. As he marched, he danced in Sankirtan. The tall figure with hands uplifted and one foot fixed perpendicularly on the other. They were so attractive, these God-intoxicated devotees, that they had a large following of men, women, and children as they went. Thus they marched on. In the evening, they stopped to rest in some village or woodland and ate what Providence gave them. They reached Sakshi Gopal. Rajan began Sankirtana. He began as was his wont to explain the history of the image before him in extempore verses in the course of Sankirtana. In spontaneous verses, extempore. The verses came to him so swiftly that it seemed he was drawing upon memory and singing well-known songs. So exquisite were the songs that they might well be taken to be the classical compositions of some ancient bard of Vaishnava literature. The bystanders were simply charmed and whispered among themselves, "Who are these blessed souls? Whence do they come? Who is he, the tall man towering above them all? He is the true likeness and stuff of a Superman. He has long arms, gracious form, sweet smiling face, and he has about him a heavenly air. which marks him out from the rest of mankind. He is undoubtedly the Barha Babaji, the head of the party, and the others are his followers. So he came to be called Barha Babaji, and we shall henceforth refer to him by this new name. Yeah, so we can see that this, in the end, actually, Radharaman, Charan, Babaji had so many names. It was midnight. All was calm and quiet around. They were lying outside the temple. There came two persons, one white, the other gold-colored, and they sat near the head of Barha Babaji. The former said, "Listen, I come to deliver a mantra, which you are to practice and proffer to anyone, spread to anyone, who would be willing to accept it." So saying, he communicated to him Gaura mantra of 22 letters and disappeared. The night wore on and it was morning, but Barha Baba was weeping all the while. He was out of his mind. He was shouting, "Panitai, Janitai," dancing, whimpering, rolling and tossing on the ground. He told his companions what had happened to him. He clung to them and cried aloud. They tried their best to soothe him. He came back to himself, but ran at full speed, crying, "Anitai, Janitai," on his way to Nilachal. His companions followed him. Men wondered at them and wished to inquire, but they were beside themselves with joy and would not rest till they had a look at the radiant face of the Lord of Nilachal. At last they came to Nilachal, the abode of the Lord. They went to the temple and saw the Lord. Their hearts were full, and out of the fullness of their hearts they began to sing. They were entirely lost to the world, lost in the depth of love of God, and their song drew the multitude of visitors to their side. 1,000 voices joined in the Sankirtan. It was a scene the like of which was never seen during the last 400 years of the Chaitanya era. The worshippers and the guards enjoyed the scene. Those who came to look at the Lord remained to sing or hear the song. Some danced as they stood, some with hands upraised. Next, Barha Baba moved to Gambhira, the abode where Sri Chaitanya lived in seclusion. As he looked on the kanta used by him, by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and touched it with his hand, he burst out into sobs and muttered in the fullness of his heart, "Have mercy, my Lord, on thy humble servant. So may I serve the servants of thy servants and rest under the peaceful shade of thy sheltering feet." So saying, he swooned away and fell down. His companions hastened to help him and restored his consciousness. Now, they did not know where to stay and what to eat, for Barha Baba resigned himself completely and depended solely on the dispensation of the Lord. He would never move an inch at his own sweet will, for his will was merged in the will of the Lord, and he himself was no longer his own, but the Lord's. Presently, however, they took their prasad in Narayan Chat, where prasad was being distributed free on the occasion of some festivity. They were so ill-clad and so humble in their ways and manners that the man who was serving prasad took them to be ordinary beggars. He made them sit on the public road along with the beggars and served them prasad on a single leaf, which was torn in the middle. Navadvip Das spread out his bahidvash. This is outer cloth. His cloth. So he spread out his cloth and put the torn leaf on it. He put the cloth on the floor. Yeah. Now the Mahanta came with prasad, saw what they had done, and exclaimed, "You rogues, you cannot give yourself a dinner, and you turn Vaishnavas to cast a slur on Vaishnavas. What have you done?" Barha Babaji said smilingly, "Yes, sir, you are right. We are not Vaishnavas and can never hope to be Vaishnavas. Bless us and pray we may be allowed to be servants of Vaishnavas like your honored self. If your lordship will give prasad to us all, give us here on my leaf, and we shall take it all together." The Mahanta was softened, and he gave them prasad lavishly. So he gave him so much prasad. Another day, they finished their ablution in the Narendra Sarovar and were going to the temple of Jagannath, singing and dancing on the way, when they met a sannyasi at the head of a procession, walking with his silver slippers under a silver umbrella, who seemed to be a saint of note in the sacred city. They inquired about him and came to know that he was no other than Bhutanath Swami, in charge of the Jagannath Vallabha at that time. They made obeisance to the saint, and the latter raised his hand and blessed them on the way. They had gone but a few paces when the sannyasi few steps, when the sannyasi summoned them back to his presence, called them back. Yeah. And at this time, when they came back and bowed again, the saint himself bowed, saying, "Namo Narayana, Namo Narayana," in return, and said, "Mahatma, may I ask you where you are putting up?" "Father," said Barha Baba, "we have no fixed place for our residence, but at present we are staying at the outhouse of Ganesh Mahanti." Well, said the sannyasi, "you are no ordinary man. I felt transcendental joy as I looked at you. I think you are intimate with Sri Krishna Chaitanya, the son of Jagannath Mishra. In fact, from what I can gather from your looks and doings, I think you are an exact copy of Sri Chaitanya in your life and conduct. You are an imitation Chaitanya, I would say. But you see, you have renounced the world. You should not go and stay with a worldly man. Why not come and stay with me at my place? Do you come and occupy a room at the Jagannath Vallabha and sing the name of the Lord to your heart's contents? As you bid us, Mahatma, so it shall be done," said Barha Babaji, and went away singing to the temple of Jagannath. So on the third day, they came and put up at the Jagannath Vallabha, to the great joy of Bhutanath Swami, who was very favorably disposed towards them. A jewel alone knows what a jewel is like, says the Bengali proverb, and it is so true. The recluse came in, with matted hair on his head, and entered into lively conversation with Barha Babaji. By your leave, your reverence, said the newcomer, may I ask you to which sect you belong? Sect? What sect, my brother? While God is one, and all belong to him, and him alone. Yes, sir, that is true. But then there are so many different creeds in religion, and men follow the one or the other. This is what I mean. Well, the different creeds are only so many different modes of grasping the same eternal truth. The differences cease to exist when the devotees comes to face with the truth. They represent the different schools of thought in our attempt to conceive the divine idea. They are lines of thought which can be and should be united and reconciled into a harmonious whole, which makes up the entire fabric of the perfect religion of all the world. Wow, this last sentence, what Barha Baba said, when sometime we as devotees can see the differences between lines, even I will not even say different religions, but different lines in Vaishnava culture. And this sentence is so nicely explaining how it's actually, in a way, all same, but different lines in this, our connection with the divine. And says that these differences cease to exist when the devotee comes face to face with the truth. And this is, when we have divine vision, then these differences disappear. Differences which actually are visible to us. You want to say something? But, other person continued. But there are these sects, and I would like to know the sect to which you belong. I take objection to the term sect, which implies inclusion of some to the exclusion of others. For religion is in reality an undivided whole, which admits of all these different conceptions at the different stages of spiritual evolution. But then there is one thing. Some have climbed the initial steps, some up to the middle, while there have been some who have gone up to the top of the ladder of evolution. Those who are at the top can see the different sets of religious aspirants clinging to the ladder at the various stages of spiritual development, and they can harmonize the apparent conflicts and contradictions and proclaim truth from the pinnacle of God realization. So there are these gurus at the different stages of God realization who have taught their disciples according to their power of comprehension, and they have started the lines of spiritual descendants, which in after times have come to be grouped as the different sects or religion on earth, of religion on earth. There is no sect in the religion of God, who is one. There were no such sects and schisms in the teachings of the great masters, the Loka Gurus. They have come out of the imperfect understanding of the later disciples of the great masters. They have come out of the imperfect understanding of the later disciples of the great masters. So beautiful view. Actually, this immediately reminded me, as Mahabhava one time was telling me how spiritual path looks like you are climbing a hill, but you are not climbing like directly up, but you are going spirally up. And sometimes it looks you are on the same place, but actually you are all the time getting higher and higher in this climbing. And as you are getting higher, your vision changes. You can broadens, becomes wider, your vision. You can see different, you can see all the parts and levels which were, you see the same things from the higher perspective. Like we have Bhagavad Gita, for example. When we read the Bhagavad Gita first time, it was one level of realization of Bhagavad Gita. But through many years, our realization is deeper and deeper. And now, with Gurudev and with Radha Dasyam family, we can see so much depth of Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So the person said to him, "Thank you very much. I'm so glad that I have found one who is above the limitations of narrow sectarianism. Now I can breathe freely, and I think I can take the liberty of inquiring about the perfect religion of all the world. No more of sects and schisms. But let me know, if you please, the standpoint you would take to understand the perfect religion of the world. My standpoint is that of Sri Chaitanya, or Sri Gauranga, who gave us his religion of love and beauty, which is the perfect religion of all the world." Yeah, beautiful. Because love is actually the main theme of all religions of the world. Then you belong to the Gauriya Vaishnava Sampradaya, don't you? Yes and no at the same time. Yes, because I have accepted the principles of the Gauriya Vaishnavas. But no, because I do not think that the Gauriya Vaishnavas should form a cliché and mar the and mar the universal character of the religion of Sri Gauranga. But who is Sri Gauranga? Sri Gauranga is the incarnation of the Supreme, the High God, who incarnated himself as Sri Krishna in the earlier age. But how can you prove that Sri Gauranga is the Lord himself? No proof like ocular proof that you can see, they say. They saw him and knew him to be the Lord himself. Those who had the eyes, the spirit's eyes, to see him aright, Nityananda saw him and knew him. And so did the other devotees who were spiritually advanced in those days. They do see him and know him to be the Lord. Even now, they who can discern the high spirit with the spirit's eyes. But what is ocular proof to one that is blind? How can you prove it to the blind that the sun is up? Yes, to those who have eyes, when the sun rises, there needs no ghost to come and tell them that the sun is up. So it is with the Lord. They can see, who have developed their spirituality and rendered themselves fit for God vision. But the blind cannot see. No amount of reasoning will convince the blind man of the existence and effulgence of the sun. He must wait till a doctor comes and restores his eyesight. And then he can see the sun like those that talk to him about the sun when he could not see. That's it. Come, will it do? Is this okay? Yeah? The person said, Venerable sire, you may be right when you say so from your own point of view, but one may think that you are just evading the question. The blind must be convinced of the possibility, if not of the actual existence of the sun, before he can be persuaded to go to a doctor to open his eyesight for a first-hand knowledge of the sun. Yes, but that is second-hand knowledge, you see. And you must remember that this can only persuade you to undertake the task. It will never carry conviction before you have actually realized the truth for yourself. However, I will try. Baba Mahashaya then went on to enumerate the Shastras in which Sri Gauranga is mentioned as an avatar. The Chandogya, the Chaitanya Upanishad, Ananta Samhitas, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Padma Purana, Garuda Purana, and a host of others. The other person was overpowered with emotion. He burst into tears and consigned himself to Barha Babaji, who initiated him and put him on the way to spiritual blessedness. This sadhu was Krishnananda Das, the same who accompanied Baba Premananda Bharati on his way to America for fulfilling his evangelical mission in far-off lands. Yeah, we didn't know this about Baba Premananda Bharati, that went to America. After a few days came Ratha Yatra, the cart festival. It was a great day for Barha Babaji. He sang and danced before the Ratha or cart, actually, as it went on. It appeared from his bhava and gestures that as he sang and danced, he saw in the Sri Vigraha of Lord Jagannath, the Lord himself, in all his resplendent beauty, smiling at him, who slackened the speed of the car at times to hear him sing and see him dance, who slowed down the speed of the carts. The cart went on till it was evening, and the men were tired. Sri Jagannath stopped to rest for the day. Most of the devotees went away to their respective lodgings or homes. But Barha Babaji would not go. He would stop on the way while the Lord was on the way and partake of the Mahaprasad of the Lord. 4 days passed in this way, and it was on the 5th day that the Lord reached the Gundicha Mandira, the destination of his journey on the cart. Gundicha Mandira represents to the devotees Vrindavana. So the Lord has come to Vrindavana after a long spell of absence. Sweet Krishna has come at last. The gopis look at his dear face and drink deep of the ambrosial potion in that face divine. Then they open their hearts and begin to pour the pent-up contents of an age of separation. Oh, how is he changed! It is not the same loving sweetheart as of old. What is the matter with him? Has he forsaken us and given away his heart to another damsel? Barha Babaji was possessed with this sentiment. He was looking at the Lord and shedding tears as he sang to express the pangs or pains of lost love, he wept and he wailed, he cried and made them cry who gathered around him. He sobbed aloud and rolled from one end to the Jagamohan of the Jagamohan to the other. The joints gave way, but the flexible limbs were turned and twisted in diverse ways, till breathing itself was stopped, and he lapsed into a state of insensibility in the intensity of his divine suffering. They knew not what to do and how to bring him back to his senses, when suddenly there came a sannyasi in yellow robes and assured them that Babaji Mahashaya was a saint of a very high order, and that the state he was in was hardly to be approached by ordinary mortals, and that he could be summoned back to consciousness again if somebody would undertake to sing him a song purporting to be a response from the lips of Krishna to soothe the suffering of his love-lorn Radha. The song was sang, and Lord Babaji Mahashaya started up in great joy and showed sign of recovery. Tears, tremor, and horripilation appeared, and the song was repeated again and again till he completely regained his senses and sat erect, to the great joy of the bystanders. So we came to one part. I mean, still have like 50 pages of this story about Radharaman Charandas. So I think we can maybe stop on this page 116 now, because here starting new story. What do you think about today's part of the story? Anyone? I really like the part when he was talking about religions. This was very beautifully explained.
Sorry, Dinadayal, I'm working now, so because of that I cannot participate. I'm just listening. Sorry.
No problem.
It was very nice.
There will be recording.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I know.
I was hearing, but I cannot participate actively because I'm on the work now.
Yeah, okay. It's the same for us, actually. It's the middle of working week and middle of working day. So, yeah, okay. So maybe we will see somehow.
Thank you so much.
To find different time for
beautiful. This. It was very beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Radhe. So, if nobody has any comment.
Radhe.
Maybe. Hey, Radhe.
Do you know the background a little bit that can you give some context? So this is happening in Jagannath Puri, and what is about to happen? I don't know. Can you give a little context?
What do you mean? What is about to happen? I mean, here are many stories.
Pages more of story. Are you familiar with that? Or can you give some explanation of
No.
The background?
Yeah, I didn't read the whole story yet.
Mm-hmm.
We are reading together.
But maybe I also missed a little bit on the beginning. So can you maybe summarize what is happening and where they are? And maybe this is...
if like you want, I can send you PDF of the book.
I have the book. This is not the issue. Like, do you have some personal connection that this somehow inspired you to read it, or is this just the next one in the list?
No, this is not. This is the story about the same person continuing.
Yes. So I missed part of this last time.
So, how I now?
Well, listening, I felt a little bit in between. That's why I'm asking.
Because there is a recording, there is a recording of the previous one.
Longest.
This is the longest story because this already like 4th time we are reading this story, and I think there will be like maybe 6, 7 more times.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. So if it's so split up apart, it's difficult to follow, and maybe some summary once in a while, and giving some context where they are, who they are, where they come from, would be good. Just to recap. No.
Okay, now from head, now I can't give you this. I would have to remind myself also. So yeah, this is really long story, so it's not so easy to. Yeah, I mean,
so we
he's
all
from
have
Bengal.
To take note.
Yeah. Now he's from Bengal, and he was born there as Charan, and but now I can't remember all the details from before to give you like summary.
We ourselves, we are also each and try to take the present nectar from each part without the need to connect to the previous things, because we would be lost in this whole thing. It's because it's huge. You can't even, you have to read it few times to be able to summarize it, because it's like vast amount of data that is actually too big to be able to summarize in a small summary. I don't know. I would need to try to find another text about this person and summarize it shortly, because this is just so big, this subject, that it's like many little stories collected in one big story. So each time we actually concentrate only on that particular thing that is going on at that very moment that we are reading. But probably we'll try next time to find some summary of.
Yeah, I mean, he was because the story first started with some explanations of of the miracles he was doing, and then started from his birth again. Yeah, so yeah, they started with miracles like he brought some woman from dead on in what name?
I forgot, but he attended a funeral.
Yeah,
and then he brought this lady from the dead
because she didn't utter the name of the Lord, so.
Chance to chant the name of the Lord, so he felt so compassionate about her, so he had to bring her to life again to be able to make her do this. And then she left again, but that was in the previous reading. But today we started from the point where he was searching for his guru, find the guru, and then this episode where we started today was when he actually found this person who could initiate him, and that happened spontaneously because both of them got internal guidance from within, either through dreams or through some inner feelings, and that's how this today's stories developed from that point. And when we mentioned Nilachal, that means that he was in Jagannath Puri, and also all these events take place in Jagannath Puri. And from what we have read right now, we can have the idea that he and this person that they are talking about, who was his friend, both of them, they were very similar to Gauranga and Nityananda. Obviously, they were very much connected to Gaura and Nitai. And so this actually is what we got from, let's a little summary of this reading. Also, what was very interesting, how his viewpoint about religion is that there is one big unity in religion, so that the religion is like universal, And only people are those who, by their explanations, make the divisions, because depending on the level of their understanding, that's what he said. So this is like a short.
Yeah, and also we could read a lot about his emotions, how he often was feeling strong emotions, that he would fall unconscious and he would feel the bala, and others around him could feel his bala also. And one thing which was in the end now what we read, that he felt the emotions of Radhika also, that when Krishna came back, and how Radhika was feeling. And only what could wake him up would be Krishna's words, so that they sing the song which about what Krishna says to Radhika, what would calm her, and that wake him up. So Divya Prem, is it okay?
Yeah, yes, I'm also on the way. So thank you.
Okay, so next week we are reading from
page
116. Okay.
So thank you very much for attending, and see you next week. Radhe Radhe Govinda.